Good afternoon. All right. First, I want to start out by thanking the fans on Saturday. Man, that was an awesome turnout. I actually used a picture in our team meeting yesterday. Two actually. Pre-game, I'm looking at section 111, and there's just a group of people already up there, and it was tropical on Saturday, and I'm like, they're going to be a little warm. And then there was a tweet that Blake put out. I think he's one of the just a local resident, sunburned legs, and it's got to use better sunscreen. But I used it just from the standpoint of telling our players how lucky we are to play in front of a fan base that shows up, that's very passionate, and man, I just appreciate it. I thought I've been here 3 years now, and I thought our student body was absolutely incredible, and showed up early. An 11 o'clock game. That's our first, I think, 11 o'clock game that I've coached in here in Lubbock, and man, they really showed up, and we're going to need them again. This is a huge game. It's starting the Big 12, and so we're going to need the fans to show up, but we're definitely going to need our student body to show up. Scout Players of the Week was Caden Carr on offense and Eddie Smith on defense. Man, I have a lot of respect for this coaching staff that we're getting ready to play. Coach Dillingham is an ex-high school coach. He probably has 6 to 7 ex-high school coaches on his staff. I turn on the film, and I just love watching them play. I mean, it's football. They play with such a passion. Defensively, they're running around like their hair's on fire. They've got a running back that I think is one of the best in the country. Had a huge game against Mississippi State. I think it was 262 yards rushing. So, I mean, just price of admission right there, you're fixing to see two of the best backs. That's a great thing about the Big 12. I mean, we have the best backs in the country in this conference, and you're fixing to see two of the best go at each other with Taj Brooks. And I'll screw up his name. I think you could say Scatabo. I don't know exactly how you say it, but I know he's a bad man, and we've got our work cut out for us. And I just, once again, everybody show up. East side wear red. Dowdy, don't let me screw it up. East side wear red, and west side wear black. And man, let's get here at 2:30 and show the support for the guys, and we'll be ready to go. Excited about a 2:30 kick, excited to start Big 12 play. It's going to be a great week. With that, I open up with questions.
Coach, obviously it was about as well-rounded a performance as you could ask for. I guess, how do you want to build off of last weekend into this weekend with this week of practice, I guess?
Coaching staff-wise, I told them just continue to find the fire and the things that we got to get better at. Still, I thought it was one of our better tackling games. We still gave up 2 big plays where, one, we lost leverage. 2, we didn't tackle well in space, stopped our feet. We had the sideline. Both of them were on the sideline, but the second one, we should have used the sideline as an extra defender, and we didn't do a good job with that. So it's things that we just got to keep working on to where we can get better. It's one of those deals, man. When you create turnovers, then and we created, I think we scored 21 points in 52 seconds, and that's short fields, that's defense playing really good football, and we've got to do that. We've got to build off of that. I sent some stuff to the defense this morning on a couple of different interceptions, some of the things that we can do. We've got to contain this quarterback. He's really athletic. He had a huge play against Texas State. Texas State, I don't know the exact score at the time, but I think it was 21-7, and, he scrambles for 40-something yards, and so we just got to keep building on what we did Saturday, but realize that, this is a team. I think they should be ranked. They're 3-0. They're 3-0, and they have dominated, been really dominant at times. They're outscoring their opponents like 75 to 30-something in the first half, so they start really fast, and so we've got to build on what we did, and that's owning our leverage, tackling the football. I think having Taj back made a big difference on how Barron played. And I think those two guys are a tough combination whenever they're together.
You kind of just touched on it, but with Taj, I noticed you guys got back into the counter stuff, which you run so well, and you ran the ball early, established a run like you talked about last Monday. And I guess what was your thoughts on the offensive scheme last weekend, and how do you carry that into this weekend and forward?
Yeah, it's a lot of the same, but there'll be some difference. Whenever you're playing that odd 3-high stuff, play action pass really comes to an effect. That middle safety is so involved in the run game that you can get them down, and now you've got big plays in the passing game. And so it was really important for us to come out and establish the run. It was really important to get Taj going early. It's going to be really important to get him going early again this week. And I think Barron plays off of that. And then again, we've got some guys that in their passing game. Josh Kelly made a huge play on a third down. It was a great throw from Barron. Jordan Brown made a huge play. If anybody's wondering how Barron feels, go back. I think we posted it, but go back. He's throwing the field out, and it's just a laser coming out of his hand. When you can throw the field out like that, you feel pretty dang good. And so I thought that was a huge play in the game too, early, that really got us going. But, we've got to do a good job this week of running the football, because we got to affect them running the football to where we can get our play action pass. That's where the big plays come in, whenever we can get Barron going with our play action pass.
Coach, which non-starter on offense and defense has made the greatest impact on this team this year?
Non-starter on offense, I would say Cam Dickey. He's stepped in a big role, and then he's now, he started last week. There'll be a battle at left tackle, but Dalton's done a really good job. So I'd say like Cam Dickey and Dalton Merriman on offense, and then he probably hadn't shown up as much in the stat column, but like Rigsby on defense, just because we've been banged up so bad and down at the outside linebackers, we had to kick him out, and it's not like he didn't do that a lot during camp, and so I thought he had a really good game. He'll continue to get better. He got a lot more snaps at the F, and he'll continue to get that. And then, Brendan Jordan is not starting right now, but he's playing a lot, and I think he's played really well at that star position. And we've done some 3-down, getting some more DBs on the field. We call it kind of our bandit position, and I thought he's filled in that spot and done really well.
Who does Arizona State quarterback Sam Leavitt remind you of?
Well, we're going to get a little bit of what we played week 2. He does a great job. He's got a good arm, does a really good job in the play action pass, and one reason because they're running the football so effective right now. But the thing that we've got to do a really good job of, and much better job than we did week 2 is, whenever he starts to scramble, we've got to force him where we want him to go versus, letting him run all the field, because he is really athletic. I would say he's a lot like the kid that we placed at Washington State.
And Coach, I know the plan going into the season was to redshirt Jacoby, but with Valdez listed on the out for the season, is it safe to say he's probably not going to redshirt? We'll see him more. Yeah, we're going to see him a lot more. In special teams and playing as that third back. I sent his coach today 2 guys. Andy Evans used to be the head coach at Tatum, and and he's coaching there in Beckville. He was the one whenever Jacoby, I think, was either in 8th grade or 9th grade. He called me and said, "Hey, I wasn't here at Texas Tech. I was at the other place," and he said, "You might need to look at this kid because he's really special." And we were his first offer. Andy was great about helping us during the recruiting, and then his head coach, Coach Ross, I sent both of them, his very first college play
we run jet sweep, and he's the lead blocker, and it's one of the most physical plays in the game on Saturday. I actually asked Pat to go back. It was like minute 42 left in the first half. I said, man, if you could find a video of that, that'd be great to put out. And then his second play, he gets first down for us, catching the ball out of the backfield, getting vertical. It's interesting because in this day and age, with the way football is and transferring and all that stuff, is like if they're physically ready and good enough to help you win. And so we had already kind of been talking about at some point through the season having to play him a little bit more, maybe in some special teams roles and stuff like that. It's getting to a point now to where if you're going to redshirt somebody, it's going to be, because they're physically maybe not ready to play yet, because you got to be able to have guys. And so he and Cam Dickey, man, they're so much fun to be around because there's just this freshman innocence of excitement and happy. And I will tell you this, I told Taj this on Friday night, they're lucky to have him because he is a pro. And so he comes into the building and all they see is, hey, this is how a football player is supposed to look, and this is how he's supposed to study, this is how he's supposed to recover, so they're just emulating what he does.
And not just Jacoby, but a lot of the young guys played really well
on
Saturday. Is there a chance that some of these guys might receive more playing time based on that performance, and who are some of those guys off the top of your head?
Yeah, no doubt. I think Cam Dickey and Jacoby are two that, you'll keep seeing. And I think Micah Hudson did a good job in what he was doing. Some of the other guys past that, you really don't want to have to get in the game. I thought like the very first play in the fourth quarter, you've got Jacob Ponton at left tackle, you've got Holton Hendricks at left guard. He's not a freshman, he's a redshirt freshman. Dylan Shaw at right guard. And the very first play, we've got a big play, and all three of those guys, we were in outside zone. They all got their blocks. Jacob had a great cut on the backside of the play, and so it was good to see those guys get in there. Tyson Turner had a good catch on third down. We didn't get the first down. And then, man, I think you see, what we saw in Will Hammond, what the nation saw. He led the nation in passing and touchdowns, and, man, he's got a great arm, and there was some really big throws by him. I thought that was the two throws, one to Micah, and then the second one, I thought it was an elite throw to Jalen Conyer. He had to go down and get it, but it still, man, it came out of his hand, and he put it in a tight window because the safety was coming over, and they had decent coverage on Jalen.
Coach, the Big 12 commissioner has made it clear that he wants this conference to compete with the SEC and the Big 10. So I'm just curious to know what you feel Arizona State brings to this conference.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. It's always tough that first year whenever you take over a program, and they were probably, if you go back, he and I actually talked about this in Vegas, they were probably as banged up as any team in the country last year. I think one time they actually went into the game and had 6 healthy offensive linemen total, to play in a game. And so, man, he's done a great job. I think that what they're bringing, you've got kind of a pro-style offense. They run wide zone. They're going to run a little bit of counter, a lot of bootleg. They move the pocket. They've got some really good receivers. They got a big tight end that played really well against Texas State, number 7. And then defensively, man, they really run to the football and give great effort, and they're 3-0. They went in. Our Mississippi State came in and they really dominated an SEC team. It was 30-23, but that game wasn't that close. They really got out on them, in the first half. And so they bring a lot of stuff to the table as far as really well-coached team that plays football the way it's supposed to be played.
With Conyers having history there, has he been able to give you guys any insight?
Well, I'll tell you, he's excited, and whenever I talk to Dillingham in Vegas, man, the great thing about him is he loves kids, so he was asking, how Jalen's doing and hoping he was doing really well. The tough thing is I mean, I think he knows some things, but they were just so banged up last year, and some of the stuff that they had to do in games. I mean, like, they have some Wildcat stuff, but there was times they almost played games out of the Wildcat just because they were so banged up. But he is really excited about playing that game.
Following up on Jalen, how is his usage, like what we've seen of him Saturday, playing out compared to what you thought going into the season in terms of the different places that you're using him and his production?
Yeah, I think he's playing really well. I mean, I think actually there's times that we can use him more at some of the wide receiver positions. The one thing that I will tell you, and I've been really proud of him, is in the run game, because if anybody wanted to have a knock on him, when you talk to NFL scouts, it was like, hey, look, he's really athletic. He's great in the passing game. You can use him a lot of different places. But how is he in, the run scheme? How is he blocking and everything like that? Man, he is a willing blocker. He has gotten better and better. It has a lot to do with his coach. Josh Cochran, I think, is the best tight ends coach in the country. And, you look at what he's doing in the run game, it's pretty impressive. And we just got to find more and more ways to even if he's not getting the ball, to use him, because, man, he's really athletic. For as big as he is, I mean, he's 6'4 plus, and he's 260 to 264 pounds on a daily basis, and, man, he's really athletic.
And kind of staying on those lines, the first touchdown that Taj scores, that 20-yard run to the south end, you use that kind of diamond-looking formation. It's like 13 personnel with all three tight ends on the field.
Yeah.
How long have y'all worked on that? When did y'all start working on that?
The play actually put in this week, the formation we used during camp, first game got into like a shootout, and so really didn't come into effect. Probably could have used it, not necessarily that play because we put it in last week, but that formation against Washington State, you look at those three guys, man. I mean, like, again, John Carlos, watch him catch the ball and just the acceleration whenever he does catch the ball for that touchdown. We've already seen Conyer make some huge plays, and we know what Mason Tharp is. It means so getting those guys on the field, especially with Taj being back, I think it's effective. And, yeah, it was a really effective run scheme.
Conference play starts. Is it overstating it that it does feel different a bit when conference play starts, or is that just something that folks like us talk about too much?
No, it's 100%. We talked about it going into last week, about like last week was our last dress rehearsal before. I mean, again, all games count, but, for people to get into the Big 12 championship, for us to get in the Big 12 championship, it kind of all starts this week, the chase to get in it. And then I think, we've talked about it before, but the difference between this year and years past is you had a selection committee, which you still do, but there was only 4, and you could sit there and get a jumbled up group and say, man, other teams should be in, or, man, how did this team get left out? With 12 teams, there's probably going to be somebody that you can still argue how they got left out, but there's going to be a lot of teams in the fight to get into those playoffs, and you got to start by taking care of your conference play. This is a big week for both us and Arizona State.
Coach, how much did it help the defense just to be able to see themselves put together a complete game, and then the 3 turnovers that you only had 1 up to this point, and just confidence-wise, how much does that help before conference play?
Man, it's huge. That side of the ball, both sides of the ball, but that side of the ball has a lot of pride. They were really on their heels. Now we got to back it up. We still had some things that we've got to do better. We still have some issues with our eye discipline, in certain areas that we got to get a lot better at, continue owning our leverage and everything like that. But, it makes a big difference as far as confidence-wise, because the first two games defensively, I think, as a staff, me and that side of the ball with the players, I mean, we're kind of on our heels. This wasn't what we expected. This wasn't how we expected to play, and so I mean, that's what I said in the locker room on Saturday. I mean, this was a lot more like what Texas Tech, what we expected, us to play like. And so now you got to back it up. Now you got to turn around and have a great week of practice and come out and do the same thing again, because nobody cares what you did last Saturday. That's past. It's, what are you going to do today and how are you going to prepare? And it starts today by getting your bodies right, making sure you're going to class, and then tonight we've got optional film. We'll find out how many people want to show up and start watching Arizona State.
Coach, have you settled on a kicker?
No, man. I think we're going to go. Both of them have done a great job. I appreciate you asking because, man, Reese and Gino, man, they deserve credit because those guys are really competing and they're both doing a great job. And we'll send Gino out again this first week or this first kick. Hopefully it's an extra point, not a field goal, because we want to score touchdowns and kind of go from there.
Anybody else?
All right. Thank y'all very much.
3 turnovers. How do you improve this week?
Well, we got a lot of things to improve on. You obviously saw the explosive play we gave up. Got to do a much better job of leveraging the football. I like Chap's aggressiveness, but you got to understand where to turn that ball back. We got an unblocked player. We got to turn it back to him, and when it goes outside, especially with a guy with that kind of speed, we knew he had 10.5 speed, and he showed it on that play.
Who graded out the highest and shown the greatest growth from the last game?
I'd have to go check through all the grades as far as grading the highest. We had some guys I thought play really well. I thought A.J. McCarty did some good things. Braylon Lux obviously getting the pick 6, played well. Chap Lewis, other than that play, is really doing some good things for us in both the run game and pass game. Up front, I thought Duda did some really good things, and Quincy probably had his best game.
Coach, after the Washington State game, you said the defense wasn't prepared for material to run that much. Arizona State's quarterbacks run for over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Are y'all prepared to face a lot of quarterback runs this week?
We better be. There's no excuse not to. The thing with this quarterback, he's done a great job of not necessarily design quarterback runs, but where the pocket breaks down, if you don't keep him contained or you don't have a spy guy, he's really hurting some people. So we've got to put together a great plan. We got to do a much better job than what we've done the first couple of weeks as far as our pocket integrity. Our pass rush right now, we've got to get a better push inside and not as high rushers outside. We're letting step up lanes, and this guy will, he'll take advantage of that. I mean, he had a 40-something yard run the other day that really helped turn the game in their favor when they were down. So it's something that's a concern that we'll be working on this week.
Coach, it seems like you gotten into that 3-down stuff a little bit more than you have in the past this year, and I was looking at it, curious. I saw Quincy lined up as like a 9-tech, 7-tech, whatever you want to call it. I guess what's the differences when you have 3 defensive tackles versus 2 edge rushers and 1 defensive tackle, or I guess your personnel choices that you make in those scenarios?
Well, a lot of it's matchups, and so if they're going 5 wides or 4 wides, and they're getting the ball out quick, part of our package is to, instead of being 4 down, is to getting 3 down. If you're not going to get there because the ball's coming out, have more guys in space. It also gets 2 of our better football players on the field at the same time. I think AJ and Brennan Jordan, BJ, have both been playing really, really well, and they're stacked behind each other, and so you've got a really good feel for competition there. But this way we can get both of them on the field at the same time.
And I know one of the runs that they hit was a same side counter, and I've heard from some people that gives the linebackers some challenges with the rules that they play with. Maybe not with your rules, but could you explain what that play does to change the linebacker?
Are you talking out of our 3-man front or just same side?
The same side counter when they, in general, more so.
Well, typically most teams run counter to the opposite side, and so when you're running it the same side, depending on your alignments, whether you're 4 down or 3 down, and who the linebackers are, sometimes they've got to box it back to the other backer depending where you fit in the scheme versus spilling it outside, and so guys can get confused with that because they'll have different pullers pulling. It could be, the guard and tackle pulling at times. It could be the guard and the tight end pulling, and that should bring one of our cover guys over with it. So depending on which scheme you're seeing, it gives different looks and different fits.
Eric Morris said after the game that he felt like your guys' pass defense was much improved from Abilene Christian to Washington State than this week, which is kind of an improvement on what you did against Wazoo. What's kind of gone into that improvement? Well,
we couldn't get much worse, right? So I think our guys just are doing a better job in their detail of execution. We're not perfect, but we're playing with better eyes. We're doing things that we did during training camp and just being much more consistent and focused in what they need to do. We got to do a better job rerouting receivers. We're not doing that consistently enough when we're in zone. In our man coverage, we're making them throw contested catches, and if you're playing tight coverage, they got to throw good balls. And so We got to continue to work on playing a little bit tighter in man, but we're going to mix things up and hopefully, mix some disguise. We've gotten away from that a little bit in trying just to get good at playing our technique and get our cleats in the grass and know what to do, as opposed to getting into the cerebral game of maybe showing something that we're going to get into later. So as we go in the season, we'll hopefully get more to that and make it a little bit harder on quarterbacks where they don't know what they're going to get just when they walk up to the line of scrimmage.
Mentioned the quarterback run. What has impressed you about Scatabo, the running back?
Well, the running back. I mean, the offense goes through him. One of the top backs in our conference. He's in a lot of ways a lot like Taj, where he's a guy that can make you miss. He runs with a lot of power, really good short area quickness. Their scheme's a little different. They run a wide zone primarily. And he can get to the edge in a hurry. And as he does, he's either bouncing it or cutting it back, and does a really good job with his feet and vision and anticipation of cutting it. And when he gets one-on-ones, there's not many guys that get him down and there's no yardage. You better have a gang of guys there tackling him, because he'll run through people.
Coach, I'm just curious where you feel your team's morale is at right now, coming off of such a great game, but obviously now going into a conference opener. Have you tried to kind of, I guess, lay them out, make it more serious, or are you letting them keep that momentum going?
I don't know if more serious is. Our guys are always serious. I think our guys felt challenged going into last week's game, realizing we hadn't played to our potential, and I think our guys stepped up by and large. Because that was a good offense coming in. I thought the quarterback does a really good job. I mean, he started at TCU. This isn't a guy that just came off of a high school team or anything. Their scheme has given a lot of people issues. Coach Morris does a great job of putting stresses on a defense, and I thought our guys responded really well. This week we're playing a conference opponent. It's our home conference opener. I believe it's their first game in the conference as well. It's a big time game. To start off 1-0 in the conference is going to be huge. Our goals are still out there in front of us. We think we're going to win this conference, and you got to do that by holding serve at home, and you got to go 1-0 every week. So our guys will obviously have a great week of preparation and anticipating for a great game on Saturday.
We'll go next to Don.
Tim, it seemed like Macho Stevenson got in somewhat early, at least before halftime. What's his progress and development been like?
He's really come along from a year ago. He was a track guy, so was one of the fastest guys in the state of Louisiana, which, there's not a lot of slow guys in that state. So he didn't get here early, and I understood. I mean, I think he ended up winning the 400 meter or whatever in the state that year. So he got here late last year, had some injury issues early, and really didn't get a chance to develop where we could play him last year. So this is his first significant time getting a chance to go out and show what he's done. Had a really good spring, made strides, and then the last couple games he's been starting to step up. And so he still has to play a little bit more physically, but I think he's getting over that first time on the field sensation where he's starting to feel like he belongs, and I think he's going to earn more reps. We need him to, because he gives us great length. He can run, and if he feels like, hey, I can play with anybody out there, which I think he can, he's going to give himself a chance to earn more playing time. One of the great things is he gets a chance to go against some really good receivers. You got CD that he gets to practice against. You got Micah he's practiced against. Brady, Coy. I mean, he's going against real dude receivers and getting better every day and competing against those guys, which gives him confidence for Saturdays.
Also, second quarter Saturday, you're down defending the red zone on the south end, and North Texas shows that like swinging gate, looking split kind of formation. Had y'all seen that on film? Because it looked like nobody seemed really confused by it, and you strung it out well.
Well, we run swinging gates on offense, and so Coach Perry does a great job getting us prepared for a number of different ones. I don't believe we've seen them do that particular one, but we knew that they did gates, what we call swinging gates. and we have rules. And you've got to be able to count in a hurry. You have to see where the linemen are. And our guys did a really good job of lining up and then really being disciplined, because it was a heck of a play design on their part. Faking the run to the field off the motion, having a guy like Chandler who's really athletic. We should have had him pulled up. We've got a guy coming off the edge. We missed the tackle there. But what they do with the linemen that are set, it's like setting up a wall for him that everyone sees the ball going this way, and you think, hey, I'm going to go switch my gap and start chasing the football. Well, now you're all pinned. But Isaac Smith did a tremendous job of knowing I'm the edge, I got to set the edge, did that and got off and made the play. But going back to your question, luckily we see all different types of those fakes from Coach Perry every week. It's an adventure to see what he does against us, but it gets us ready for situations like that so our guys don't panic.
Coach, Chapman Lewis, obviously back-to-back games with an interception. Even with the inexperience heading into this season, stepping into a big role, what have you seen from him? But just being in the right places, right time, and really doing a great job here early on. Yeah, he's a guy that just has a knack for being a football player who understands the game, so he plays faster than normal. He's not very big, but he's not afraid to go make a tackle physically. He can trigger, he can diagnose a place and know when to go with the right angles. And so I think the more playing time he gets, the more comfortable he is, the more food he eats on training table to get his weight back up to where we want it to be. He's going to be a tremendous football player for us. Losing Rabbit in that spot from last year was a concern, but I think Chapman's really doing a nice job of filling those shoes. Obviously stays in contact with Rabbit. Do you see some similarities, some things that maybe Rabbit has passed down to him just with the training on the side? Absolutely. Rabbit, when we first got here, wasn't the player that he was. I think Coach Yates really developed him, and I think Chapman last year saw how much work Rabbit put into it, film study, drill work, all those things. Chaps there as the young guy last year said, oh, that's how you do it if you want to play in the league. Chapman's got better length. I don't know that he runs as well as Rabbit, but Rabbit worked on that, and I think Chap will too, and I think he's got a excellent future ahead of him.
Anything else for Coach Reuter? All right, guys.
Coach, how do you still want to see Barron grow on this week?
Yeah, I think, he graded out very high. He graded out at 92% in the game. He had 4 incompletions, 2 drop balls, 2 throwaways, which are good plays. He did some really good stuff, man. One thing, I'd like to see him be better in the pocket at times. He does like to flush to his right a little bit. So those are a couple things we're going to work on this week. But I thought he did a good job of maintaining composure and handing the ball off into some good boxes, and then whenever we had to throw some big-time throws, he made those throws.
And what have you seen from the offensive line that gives you encouragement?
Yeah, man, those guys are just they're coming to work every week and they're playing hard. Again, we've kind of had to do a little shuffle again, and man, I was really proud of Dalton Merriman coming in and his first start, he did a really good job. And again, Caleb Rogers, can't say enough about him, just having to bounce around and play all the positions he's having to play right now. And he did good. And Sheridan had his best game. Davion Carter graded out really well, and then Ty Buchanan too, man. There's kind of a pretty funny picture of him going out there. He's puking on extra point, and that just tells you right there. He's a guy that loves it, and he's playing his tail off. And I'm just proud of those guys. And again, I think Coach Clay McGuire is doing a good job with them. And I kind of said it last week. I think you'll keep seeing those guys get better each week.
Coach, it was a big counter week. You had a bunch of different iterations that you got into. You had that jet motion, the orbit motion, and then and then you built off of it with the RPO game, play action game, I guess. How do you want to continue to do that? Because it seems like the counter and gap runs have been y'all's strength so far.
Yeah, that's going to be what we hang our hat on in the run game. Counter and inside zone. Again, just schematically with what those guys did on us. Y'all saw some outside zone runs. We popped some good outside zone, which looked good for us too. It's a good change up for us. But man, ultimately that's what 28's really good at. He's an inside the tackles runner, and that's the two things again that we like to hang our hat on. And so we're gonna try to find a bunch of different ways to run it week in and week out, and you'll see it some more than other weeks. And again, that's just gonna vary defensively in what structure we're getting on the defensive front and in that front seven. But no, very happy with the run game and what it looked like. We had a handful of some negative runs though too, and those are the things that we've got to clean up. That's one thing that I wasn't very pleased with. I think we had 5 or 6 negative runs on some first downs, some stuff like that, getting us in a second and long, which is not ideal. So just got to clean those things up. And again, that just comes to hitting some targets, and they did a good job of doing some twist game up front and trying to get us out of our targeting our guys the right way too. So that's part of it. But again, just continue to grow in that run game, and the counter is going to be really good for us.
What did you think of Will Hammond? I mean, I was really impressed with the footwork, the poise, the ball he threw to Conyers was really nice. I guess, what was your assessment on your
I thought he did a really good job, man. For what I've been telling him since he's been here is he is very, very impressive to me when it comes to his pocket presence and his pocket awareness. I mean, he sat in there twice. The first RPO that he threw the bang 8 to Micah, he took a shot there, and then we had a true progression, full field progression read that he got back through Micah curl, and he took a shot on that one too. And he just he really does a good job of sitting in there, man. And the last 3 plays were some good coaching moments for him. Some things I didn't love that he did there, but man, he came in, man. He lets it rip, man. He cuts it loose, and again, I think y'all saw the arm talent and the ability for him to get out of the pocket and run a little bit too. So happy with him. Again, he graded out pretty high for his first ever college snaps, and proud of what he did.
Go ahead, Jared. I have a couple of Taj questions. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you start off with 3 runs with Taj Saturday. I believe that was the same against ACU. How important is it to establish Taj early in the game? And then as a play caller for you, what kind of luxury is it to have him as opposed to not having him against Washington State?
Yeah, I mean, I laugh all the time telling everybody he's my safety blanket. You know what I mean? I mean, he's the guy that I like to lean on. And I think too with Barron, I mean, it just is what it is. You had 2 freshmen out there other than him, and you're talking about the best running back in the country. And so having him out there is a huge luxury for us. We want to establish the run game early. I heard Coach talking about it. That sets up everything we want to do over the middle. And I think because we were running the ball so well Saturday, it opened up some of our play action pass game. We were able to hit some shots over the middle and do some of those things. So, man, it's huge. It helps me get in a rhythm as a play caller. You can open up the playbook a little bit more, especially when you get some good first down runs in, and it opens up your RPO game as well, which we did a really good job of. I felt like hitting those this week too. So, I can't overstate the value that he brings to this football program and me for sure.
Me to my next question was, it appeared there was a more conscious decision to push the ball down the field in this game, or was that just how it unfolded based off kind of what you just said?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I mean, man, the long touchdown to Coy, man, I had a separate RPO called over there to Coy, and they come down press man, and Barron checked that fade to him right there. So that was all Barron Morton, just attacking a press man corner, and we liked our matchups there this week. And we had a couple of those play action shot plays in that we liked. And then again, with that 3 high structure, man, when that middle safety really wants to get involved in the run game, there's some stuff you can do to pick on that guy. And we had some good calls at the right times, and we delivered the ball at quarterback. So it was good to see. Guys ran the routes the right way. We operated at a high level Saturday, so we got to keep that going.
As far as the rest of the running back room, what did you like from Jacoby, maybe specifically, since we've seen Cam more, and how much more do you plan on using Jacobius?
Yeah, man, he's awesome, man. His very first college snap, man, when he runs we're trying to get the speed sweep to Dre McCray right there, and he runs the alley, and he just puts his face on that safety, man. It was one of my favorite plays from the game, and man, he's such a great kid, and he comes from a real small community out there in East Texas, and he does everything you ask him to do, and he does it a million miles an hour. And I think you can see the explosiveness that he can bring. The fun thing about him is he's done a little bit of it all, kind of like Cam has as well. So you're going to hopefully be able to start opening up a little bit more of some like the motion out packages and use him in the receiving game. And but man, he's an explosive guy, and the other thing too about him, again, he did some really good things in pass pro, and then we got on the 3-yard line, and we ran that one play that we ran 3 times for 3 touchdowns, and on his, it wasn't blocked up as good as the other 2 were, and he found a way to get in the end zone. That just kind of shows you the toughness that he brings, too, for not being the biggest back out there.
I asked Joey about this earlier, but you actually had 13 personnel on the field with that kind of diamond set and all 3 tight ends in there. How much might we see more of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's something you want to get into. Again, we kind of I'm not going to sit here and take full credit for that. We stole that from Memphis. Memphis ran that on them last year 3 times for 3 touchdowns, and so we were hoping that we could do the same thing, and it just so happened that it worked out for us too. So, but no, those kind of packages with the 3 tight ends that we have, there's some fun things you can do out of that. And some different ways you can be creative and maybe cause some issues with some different packages out of the run from that. So don't know if we'll see that exact formation this week, but you're going to see some different short yardage stuff moving forward with those guys.
So all 4 of Barron's touchdown passes, there was some sort of play action involved, run fake. Y'all have, I mean, you've wanted to do more of that, haven't you?
Yes, yeah, and again, you know, the big thing when you play these, kind of was hitting on it earlier a little bit, those 3 high teams, man, that middle safety is in the run fit, and so some of that stuff across the middle is more open. We felt really good. You know, the first touchdown pass to Josh Kelly was something that's we threw a couple times week 1 against a similar structure. He could have thrown it a couple more times against them, and so I was really proud of him for burying that football and delivering that to Josh. And then again, we just had some other real just some schematic good things that we felt good about with those guys running downhill that we hit them on.
That's a underneath route that Jalen ran for the touchdown.
Yeah, that's just old school mesh right there out of 12 personnel. So, you know, we hit them with a mesh concept. Had a few of those this season so far, but that's one that we actually, it's fun, really funny story. We ran that one in fall camp in a scrimmage. We ran that exact same play, and we actually dropped a pass in it, and it was going to probably go for about a 60-yard touchdown on 3rd and medium. And so it was really good to see us this time. We connected on it and caught it and open. So, you know, Coy Aiken too, man, that's what's cool about the mesh concept. Go watch Coy Aiken. Coy Aiken makes his guy run the hump, man, and that's just part of being a good teammate and doing your job on that too, that got Jalen sprung open, and he did the rest.
Coach, looking to the tape for Arizona State, is there anything you've seen that you feel you can take advantage of? And then on top of that, has Conyers played a role at all in giving you some insight to things you can attack?
Yeah, you know, him and I haven't sat down yet. You know, I know him and I will. You know, he knows a lot of those guys, but man, at the same time, you look at their roster, they got a bunch of brand new guys. You know, they're heavy transfer portal, and man, the biggest thing from them is they fly around. You know, 4-down structure. They mix up the back end a little bit. He wants to be more one high. Again, hangs his hat on taking the runaway, which they've done really good job. I think they're 11th in the country. I know it's like 60-something yards a game rushing, and so they've done a really good job so far at stopping the run, only giving up about 200 yards in the air as well. So 3 defensive touchdowns already in 3 games. So they're doing a really good job of flying around, man, and they play really hard. I like their edge rushers a lot. You know, I think that those guys play with really high effort. They like to strain to the football. They get after it. They run, you know, running backs down from across the formation and some of those things. So, you know, our guys, we're going to have to strain to finish our blocks, and we're going to have to play well there. And, again, you know, I think their secondary, a lot of transfer guys in. You know, not sure exactly, you know, how much those guys have played together. But, again, they did a really good job on Texas State. They got hit on a few things over the top against Texas State, but did a good job. And, again, man, we're going to have to be on our game, and we got to have a good plan getting our guys open. And again, it starts, you know, with the run game first and foremost, getting that established early, and hopefully everything else opens up.
More on the blocking for your specifically your running backs in this one. I think I saw Taj have 6 or 7 just flat out pickups that knocked the guy completely off his tail when he was trying to come in and get Bear on some of those deeper throws. How do you have him teach what he does to the rest of the running back group, and maybe even the offensive lineman, for as good of a blocker as he is?
Yeah, I mean, the offensive line piece, I mean, that's a completely different ball game there with those guys. But those running backs, man, I think first off, it comes from film study. You know, he understands what these guys are going to do to us going into the game. And, you know, he had a couple where he was, you know, decleating some guys almost. And, again, he's the best I've ever been around. But man, I think it just comes from his football IQ, how much he studies film. He knows where these guys are going to come from, and again, within the scheme, he's got certain areas where he is the guy that picks people up in certain gaps and some of those things, and that's the biggest thing he does, man, is he does his job, and sometimes he helps do some other people's for him too back there. So, but I think the biggest thing for that with him is his physical toughness that he brings, but just his football IQ and how much he studies it on a weekly basis to be prepared for those things.
And kind of going off of that, how much did that kind of play and some of the play action as well really open up the middle of the field for you this past week, and how can you capitalize on that going this week?
Yeah, I mean, part of it starts with they were more of a, with that middle safety down there, middle field open team, so when you're playing those middle field open teams, the middle's more open clearly, and then you play your one high teams, which we're going to get a little bit more of this, and they're trying to, not let the ball go there. And so, again, that's going to be a weekly basis on what we see. We're going to see a little bit of some too high stuff this week that we're going to try to attack there, but again, just week in and week out, we'll attack what we see, and it was a good week for us there this week.
All right, we'll wrap it up right there. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you all.